So the session name, I was actually quite sure that this would be the longest session topic name, but it wasn't, because usually we are not used to have these long session topic names, but I think there were one or two which were a little longer. So I have to actually read what is the topic because it's so long. Well, what do you think about this? Have you any expectations? What do we know? It's something about passwords. Finnish fails. It's Finnish, not Finnish people. So because Finnish people don't fail ever. At least we won't tell that. So the topic covers about the most commonly used Windows deployment and management products used in workstation and server management. WDS, MDT for deployment, config manager, a little bit that one. Also Active Directory related stuff, group policies, preferences, computer objects. So that's mostly the topics I will cover, going to the security-wise, what we can do there. Who am I? I'm Petri Paavola. Nice to see you all. I'm Microsoft MVP now for 3 years. And let's see if we can make it to the 4th year. That we will see on the first day of January next year. Also, I'm working on Aalto University as a senior system specialist. Been working there about 13 years and almost 15 years in the IT area. Mostly working for the workstation management, domain management, and security is fun. That's interesting. Why I'm here? Well, some ask me, but also I had a plan to be MCT to this date. But for the time scheduling, well, not enough time to make the MCT and all the certificates, and actually time to have the presentation and do the MCT work. That's not why I'm not MCT, at least in this time. Maybe in the future when I have more time. Also working in Names, which is actually company which gathers 80% of the Finnish MVPs. So that's quite interesting to work with other MVPs in Finland. I have a few demos. Depending how you count it, I have 6 to 10. So there's the demo setup, because I use the virtual machines, change different machines, so for you it's good to know in what machine I'm in which case. So I have Hyper-V running in the laptop. I have virtual machines, 3 of them. One is domain controller, which has the MDT, WDS, and everything you do on the production, not, but maybe in the demo environment. I have 2 clients, one which is Windows 8.1, and one which is this one. I think all of you use usually Linuxes, so I have Ubuntu Linux here. You will see why I have the Linux box here. So the thing was about why we fail. We use the next finish, just go into production and we might fail. And the thing is that the softwares are usually made in a way that when you install it, it works. And it's a good thing, because if you install a software or some server product and it won't work, then you will get angry and this is not a good product. So it should work. But the downside is that when it works, usually you cut somewhere and take the shortcuts. So security is usually the first thing you do. For example, enable all users to do something. So that's why we, in many cases, go wrong, at least in security-wise. So let's start from the operating system deployment basics. How many of you know the unattended XML file? Okay. Unattended XML file is file which makes the Windows installation automated. With that one, you can tell the Windows setup that do these kind of language settings, select these things. Whatever you do when you press the GUI from the next, and also in the finish. So the unattended XML file is used with config manager, with WDS, with MDT, and it basically automates the setup when the operating system is installing. Also, you usually, or in many cases, you want to configure admin password, maybe make admin account, more accounts, and usually the accounts need passwords. So they will be in the unattended XML file also. And domain join password, domain join account is usually in many cases in the unattended XML file. It's usually cleaned up after the OS deployment, but sometimes something may go wrong. So let's see. For the demo setup, I'm sorry I have to sit down here, but it's much easier to use the keyboard in the demos. So let's go see just an example of the unattended XML file. This one is an unattended XML file after the operating system has installed it. It has removed all the sensitive data which will be there usually. We see, for example, there's domain join account which has the password removed. So that's a good thing. It won't show you the password. Also, there is usually admin password, and it's also removed when the operating system has installed it. But that's not the case when you are actually installing the operating system. So if we open one unattended XML file, which is actually in the file server, or which is actually given to the client when the installation phase is going on, then you can see the, let's look up. For example, oh, wrong one. If you configure domain join, the domain join password is always in clear text in the unattended XML file. It's never encrypted in any way. Also, we have the admin password, which is good. It's encrypted. So that was, you can't actually read it. Okay, let's get back to the slides. Yeah. Well, the problem with the encrypting the password is that it really isn't encrypted. It's base 64 in base 64 format, and base 64 is just another presentation of strings. It's made that way that it will work in the XML files. It has nothing to do actually with the encryption or decryption. And also, as I showed you, domain join password is always in clear text. So I think we can manage to work out for the base 64 encryption. So let's see what we can do there. I think we had it open. Which one? Here we have the password. Let's copy this one. That takes a little more, but we can clean that up. I used just a notepad to make the command here. I will run it then after in the PowerShell. And let's shoot up the PowerShell. You can use PowerShell in any computer because it's just normal PowerShell commands. So if I just know what I'm doing here, I'm just converting the base 64 to TXT. And I can see some password here. MCT Summit hacks passwords. Well, that's what we do. That's normal thing. So the encryption was kind of weak because that wasn't actually an encryption. If you have used the WIKE tools and read the help and manuals, there it actually says, at least there or in the TechNet, that the encryption is not strong in this case. Well, it's not an encryption at all. So first thing, where this leads us to. Problem is that if you can access the unattended XML file, then you can probably read the passwords. And one thing, actually the first thing, which is actually enabled by default, is to use cmd.exe. When you have operating system installing in the WinPE phase or after the operating system actually boots up and it's preparing the devices, you can open cmd.exe and it will run as local system. Just press F8, or if you have older WinPE, it's Shift F10. And this is by default enabled. If you have, depending what systems do you have, you can go and see the folder C Windows Panther, which is Windows Setup's own part for the unattended XML file. You can go to the C mini-nt, which is used for the MDT. For config manager, we have the SMS task sequence folder where the unattended XML could be. Also, if you are using MDT, after the operating system has installed, it will boot up. And if you have any task sequences running, you will see actually the pop-up, and there are MDTs running task sequences, blah, 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 doing something. If you just go to the C mini-nt folder, you can see the unattended XML file there. It's not deleted until the task sequences will run in the end. Then the MDT will delete all the XML files on the local computer. Also, if you are using sysprep you can do sysprep in different ways. And the unattended XML can be also in the sysprep folder. So there are several places where the unattended XML file can be in the client computer where the operating system is installing. This is just one example. I have a computer which is installing operating system with MDT. So just open the CMD, go C mini-nt, and in this case, you can see there is admin password, which is almost encrypted. It's base 64, so it's not encrypted at all. Okay, that was only about the client side. So what about the server side? Let's go and see a little bit more. Now I will go to my domain controller, which has the WDS and also MDT service installed. Okay, go to the full screen. So, actually, why should we go to the server side? Because in the server we usually have enough rights to do anything. Let's go to the client. Here is the Windows 8.1 client. I'm running it with the standard user in the domain. So let's go see the server side, the shares we have in our installation server. The first thing we see netlog and sysvol, which are the built-in for the domain controller Active Directory. Those are the default ones. Nothing that's normal. We also see remins here. If we go there, we see something. Images, image group 1. There's Vim, okay. That has to be something with the installation. Oh, there's image unattended XML. Let's open it. Okay. Oh, there's the domain join password, yes. Also the admin password. So if you install the WDS server, just with default settings, normal user can go to the share and read the unattended XML files. Also the Vims. Let's see, we have something else. Actually, we don't see. I told you that we have the MDT also installed here. So I could guess there could be something else. Let's try that one. Okay. We have deployment share $. Okay, we got there also. Let's go control, deploy, and there's another one, unattended XML file. And I'm pretty sure there will be admin password too. Yeah, admin password, and there could be domain join accounts. And okay, we couldn't see the share when we got to the server. It was hidden because that's what the $sign says. But hidden doesn't mean that we don't have read access to the share itself. So also the MDT, this is the newest version, 2013. Install it by next, finish in the default settings. The share rights are for the authenticated users. The same thing is for the WDS server. The share rights are for the authenticated users. So just by going to default settings, you will tell or give access to all of your users to go and see if I have any admin passwords configured in the unattended XML file. So that's pretty bad thing. But if it wasn't that way, then it wouldn't work until you make some user accounts or groups which are enabled the rights to use that one. Also, if you're actually using the MDT and making the customizations, many of the settings are controlled by the INI files. And if you go to the custom settings.ini, this is the custom setting file which will make full automated installation with MDT. And you can set here also admin password, which is in clear text in this format. You can also make the domain join account and domain join password here in the INI file. So now you don't even have to go to the unattended XML file. You can just read the INI file. And that's also you have the read rights by default. And I'm pretty sure there are quite many environments which have the default settings for these shares, and they have unattended XML files placed there. Okay, let's get back to the slides. So, also, I told you about the WDS server and MDT server. Oh, I should be maybe here so you will see the slides. You can have other file shares. You can have servers or shares which have the scripts, drivers. It can have software packages. And in some cases, there could be unattended XML file or anything you do. So you should check all the file shares and servers which are included in the operating system deployment environment and make sure there are no data that shouldn't be seen by the normal users. Well, in real life case, sometimes even if we do everything right, the software may be doing something wrong. And there is one real life case where some operating system deployment software which is not config manager. I won't say its name, but it starts with A and ends with S. And the current version is 6.9. I won't say anything else. What's the product? The product does something pretty stupid. When you are making images, you can make the images from the GUI, just click something, do in the product, and then you capture the image. In behind the scenes, the software actually uses sysprep. It uses its own sysprep file, so it's unattended XML file for the sysprep. And the unattended XML file will be captured to the image, and in the end, the file will be deployed to all the clients. In that unattended XML file, there was user account and a password in clear text. And that user account was used by the operating system deployment software so that it would have admin rights to the client computers. So in the end, there was user account and password which had admin rights to all of the client computers in the current domain. And that's pretty bad thing. And you can't even know that one because you did everything exactly right, but the software did something more. So how do we mitigate these problems? Well, first of all, disable the CMD exe from the WinPE and from the install Vim. You can do it manually just by adding the disable CMD request tag file to the Vim files. That's the manual way. In the config manager, you can set it up to the boot image. You have the option here, enable command support, testing only. It says testing only. It's good in lab environments, but don't go into production with that one. Also, if you are using MDT, just add to the file winpesl.ini. There's the last one, bootstrap no SF8. And then you build up the WinPEs, go that in your servers, and it will disable the CMD. Also, when you have deployed your computers, just take one client which is installed. Just type dir/s unattended XML file. Just go from the root of the C drive and try to find unattended XML files from your computers. You may find one, and it's okay if it has all the data deleted, the sensitive data. But you might end up having seen unattended XML file which has too much information. Yeah, Sami?
Quick note on the penetration testing side. It's actually one of the first things that I now do when doing that stuff is that to go to any network, just go take your own laptop, enable PXE, then boot up, check what's the IP address that the PXE is at, and then check for those shares. So you don't have to know anything about the network. Just enable PXE. It'll usually reply to get at least the IP address, although you are denied of access perhaps, but you get the IP address and then check that. It probably takes like 3 or 4 minutes to show the customer what's their admin password. So ridiculously easy.
Kind of shocking.
Yeah.
So your admin password is this one. Should I continue? Okay. Also, if you are using config manager, it does clean up the client computer afterwards. And whatever you use, OSD types, you can do it actually yourself. Just add the setupcomplete.cmd file on the setup scripts folder, and it will run after the Windows own installer setup ends. Actually, you can do many things there. There's also one command which you can run if the setup fails. And one thing you should maybe put there is just to delete all the unattended XML files on the local computer. Also, as I mentioned, make sure that default settings are not applied to the MDT or WDS server shares. So normal users don't have read access there. The people who are installing the operating systems need to have access there, so you can make your own group and give that group read rights. If you are making 100% zero-touch installation, then you may end up having problem, because in some point you have to have access or passwords. So you have to see that from the beginning to the end that it won't leak the passwords in any phase. And if I didn't say it clear enough, never go into production with the F8 enabled. I really mean it. Never ever go there. Actually, then it came into my mind that if we have cmd.exe enabled in the installation phase, why should we go and see the unattended XML file? Okay, we could get the admin passwords maybe in the several computers, but you can just go there and add your own script that will make your own admin account every time the computer reboots. Just add some timeout for the beginning, so the group policies will apply first and then make your own account. So basically, if you have the CMD access to the box which is installing, you can do whatever you want. So that's another reason you shouldn't never enable the CMD. Okay, if we have the admin password in an unattended XML file, and then we are thinking that when we have installed the client, just change the password. So then no one can use it, because we will change it after the client is up. And we can change it with the group policy preferences. And actually, it's an easy way. You can change the, for example, built-in admin's account name. You can make new users. You can change their name. You can set the passwords for the users or for the local admin account. And let's take a look how that works. So because we are making a group policy, we will go to the domain controller. Let's open group policy management console. On the clients, or you may create GPO in this domain. Set MCT summit passwords. Yes, let's do that one. We edit that one and we go to preferences, which is on the computer side. And there are local users and groups. Can you see it? Yeah, I think it's big enough. New local user. Action is update. We want to change something which is there already. If you want to change the local admin password, then take the drop down and select the administrator built-in. This makes sure that it will actually select the built-in admin in every case. If you type it, it could go wrong, for example, if you have different language settings. Password. What password should we type here? Anything?
MCT Summit.
MCT Summit. Rocks.
On the rock. So that's quite good. That's the way to use the administrator built-in. You don't, when you come to Finland next time, you don't have to know how to spell järjestelmä.
Yeah. And just apply. Okay, now we got some warning. This is quite interesting. Actually, if you are using 2008 domain controller, you won't get this one. This comes only after 2012 domain controller. So this is new one. Okay, password is stored at the GPO in the sysvol. It's discoverable, although obscured. I hope it really this time is actually encrypted. Okay, I believe you. Let's show it. Okay, another time. So we really, 2 times pressing OK means that you really understand what you did. I hope. Okay, so we made up a group policy preference, and just as it said, okay, group policy is sysvol. They have something in common. So let's go and see. So let's go on to domain controller and just look what shares do we have. And in the sysvol, we have policies. Yes, group policy preference is a policy. Modify by date, we can find the one we just made. It was on the machine side, preferences, groups.xml. Okay. I'm kind of afraid these XML files, because they might have something. So there we have groups. Let's see, name administrator built in. And okay, now we've found something interesting. We have the C password. Wrong. Why don't I remember that one? So that looks to be the password. Although it's not readable, I'm pretty sure this one isn't base 64. Because it would be longer that way. So we might have a problem here. Well, this time the password we found really is encrypted. It's encrypted with AES, was it 256 something? So it's quite hard to decrypt that one. But when we think of how the group policies work, if we have group policy on the server side and the client copies that group policy file, it has to know somehow how to decrypt the settings in the group policy. So they have something secret which is shared. The problem here is that the secret is shared from the MSDN also, so you don't have to even make your own password or encryption hacking, because actually Microsoft tells you that the decryption key for this group policy preferences is blah, 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 and it's shown on the MSDN website. So it's shared worldwide. So that's interesting. So maybe we can make the passwords just in the plain text again with this knowledge. So let's go back again to the domain controller. We'll copy the XML file. Let's go to then we open up. Are we on the right computer? We are not. Now we are. Okay, let's my PowerShell. And because we were on the wrong computer, I copied the file on the wrong computer. Let's copy it here again. I have a PowerShell script which is named getGPPpassword.ps1. And we can give that path option and the group's XML file. And if we run it, we can see the password. So it's not that hard to do. And you can do this with any scripting language you just want, because it's basically decrypting the known encryption method. So this is the one I just set up a few minutes ago. Oh, slides. I think there's one problem. We used the domain controller. We went there, read the sysvol, we decrypted the password. But if we think again how the group policies work, I think we may have a little more bigger problem. So if I go on the client computer, let's take it full screen. I'm on the client just as a normal standard user. When I see the shares on the domain controller, I will see the same shares which I saw earlier. Also, I will see the sysvol. I can see there are policies, date modified. Oh, this looks familiar. This is the same group's XML file which I showed you earlier. This time I'm on the client side, running it normal standard user in domain. And if I open it, I will see the same thing. The password is there. So that's a problem, I think. And that's how it works. The group policies works that way, that if you just make the group policy, the other side who is targeted must have read access to that one. And this time we made it just how we usually do things. We just do it and we assume it that it's safe. When we go back to the domain controller side, we can see the group policy. Security filtering is for authenticated users. So by default, when you make the group policies, it's always made, unless you actually clone a group policy and select the preserve existing permissions, you will get, actually I'm not sure if that even goes to the security filtering, that might go. But by default, when you create a group policy, it's applied to all authenticated users. And authenticated users group has all of the accounts in the domain except the guest account. So basically every user and every computer account has that right. So I could narrow this down because I was targeting this only to computers, so maybe I could select domain computers and take away the authenticated users. Now the group policy can be read only by the clients. But let's go further. Now it's applied to all of the domain computers. Yeah? Yeah?
Or it is just applied?
It is, well, actually, if you see here on the bottom, it made this one. So when I applied this to the domain computers, I had the share open in my domain admin account. It's not available anymore even to the domain admin. So there are read rights and apply rights. And if you do it by the security filtering, it will prevent the read-write access from the users. The problem now is that we have targeted to the domain computers. So just go in any computer which is joined to the domain, client or server, and then get to the domain or to the computer account rights. Basically that's system rights, which you can use for PSExec seed, which makes you as a system. And as a system, you can go to the policies and read that group policy again. So now you have to narrow that down more. Maybe you have one group which has all the servers and one group which has all the clients. But still in that case, go to any client and you can read the groups.xml file and you can get the password which is set up on any client. Actually, when you go down that path, only way you can be sure that you can't have admin rights to other boxes is to have only one group policy preference per one machine. That way, if you break down this, if you go in, you have admin rights to this box, then it's no use for you to have the admin password in clear text because you already broke it. You already got it in there. So that's the only case you can be almost sure. I think that's a problem. You shouldn't maybe use this one. Fortunately, in the 2012, it will say you that you might compromise the security if you're using this one. Sami is always laughing about this one. So, yeah. So, do you lose always if you use the group policy preferences? Maybe, unless you're using it only for one targeted either user or computer. Or use something else. Admin, I saw some other third-party software which make the passwords, or make your own script in the end of the task sequence when you build up the computer. Just change the password to some random password and write that password down to your some share, secured share, or in the AD attribute which is secured. Well, it's yeah.
And that's an official statement from Microsoft. Even asked last week that it's their official statement. There is no way of changing passwords securely with group policy preference.
There are some third-party software which includes in the group policy preference, and it actually encrypts the path there in a way that it couldn't be decrypted. I don't remember what the software was named, but there is some third-party software. But it's not only an admin password. If you do with the group policy preferences, schedule tasks, map network drive, data sources or services, all of these options there is one option more, run as another user. If you do this, then it will create the well, it's not groups.xml, but it will create its own XML file. And the password is same way decrypted as the admin password was. So the best thing, if you want to make sure, just search all your policies that if you have XML files from the sysvol. If you have that one, then you search C password string from the XML files. And if you see the C password XML file as a normal user, then you can know that all of your domain users can actually see that password also. I know these ones are actually also there in the wild in the production environments. I'm pretty sure of that. And that's because we use the software as a normal way and next finish, and we assume that everything is safe way. And that's not how it works. Okay, let's move on. We have 10 more minutes. Few demos still left. I think we can make it. So let's move on to the computer objects. Pre-staged computer objects. How many of you are using pre-staged computer objects? It's okay to say yes. It's nothing bad there. Because if I ask you, I show all the ways how you can show the admin password. So, I don't know, what are you doing? I'm not doing anything. So pre-staging is actually a good thing. You can use that way if you want to. You can reserve the computer name. You can place the account in the right OU. You can maybe set group memberships, set up installation tasks, set up many kind of things before you even actually have the computer, if you are, for example, ordering the computer. So it's a good way to use AD if you want to use that way. The point of the computer object in the AD is that it's just a normal user. It's just a normal user as our user accounts. And every user account also has a password. When you have the user account and password, then you can go to resources, shares, and do anything which we normally do. In the computer account case, actually, if you know the computer account's password, you have to set up first the SPN, so all the attributes on the computer objects. That's actually the thing you do when you join the client to the domain. It will set up all the attributes so it will get into the resources. And the password is random. And that's a good thing. It really is random. When you make it manually from Active Directory users and computers, it will make up random password. Except if you select the option pre-Windows 2000 computer. Basically, it's NT4 compatible. Or if you select the reset account. And that's something which we may do it sometimes if we have lost the relationship with the domain controller and clients, and one case is to reset the account, join the domain, and blah, blah, blah. Actually, you can do that. You don't have to do that to get the client back to the domain, but that's a different case. But if you do the reset account, it will make something default. And in these two cases, it will make default password, which is the 14 first characters of the computer name without the trailing $sign. So that's something which we know at this point, if it's made that way. And some old management tools make the pre-Windows 2000 compatible accounts. For example, if you use the netcomputer command, it will make a computer account as NT4 compatible mode. DSAD and PowerShell makes random password, but with PowerShell you can actually decide to also make these default password computer objects. So let's test that one. I have set up 3 accounts with default passwords. And first one, just go to the domain controller, because we can test this quite easily. Run as user hack me. Yeah, sounds good. I typed something which is wrong. It says the password is incorrect. Let's try that again. Hack me. And now it said logon failure, but it didn't say password failure. So it accepted the password. So this is the easiest way just to check if you have user account which is made by some scripts or anything you use. Just try this way and you will see that if the password is the same than the computer account's name, then it will have the default password. That's not a good thing. So then we go to the Linux box. And for the Linux, I just take the remote command to the SSH to the Linux box. I won't show up actually the desktop here. It's easier way to go into Linux box. So let's try the same one. So we try to kinit hackme, and see klist. So what I did, I took a Kerberos ticket as a hackme user account. This is computer object account, but I took the Kerberos ticket as a normal user, and it accepted that one. This one actually, I can't go to the shares because I haven't set up all the attributes, but I know the password is right one. Okay, destroy. Just destroy the Kerberos ticket. And let's try something more. Where am I? I'm here. MSKT util. It's one utility software which you can use to join computers to the domain. And that's why I use the Linux, because I can join, unjoin, do everything quite easily. You will see that quite soon. So, computer name, let's go to the hackme account. Host name hackme, and that's the beauty of Linux. My Linux box is actually named Ubuntu, but I can tell this one just join to the domain as another account's name. You can't do that on a Windows machine. You have to change the name and reboot and do every kind of stuff, and that takes time. And our server is DC01.
Works because it's made in Netherlands.
Takes a little while, but it works. Okay, nothing here. It didn't say error, so it must have worked. Now we want to take the Kerberos ticket again, but this time we want to make the Kerberos ticket as a computer machine, computer object. So kinit and hackme, and now we have to put the $sign because we are going as the computer account. And now if we see, we have the Kerberos ticket as a local computer named hackme in a Linux box which name is actually Ubuntu. Now I have joined to the domain, and with this computer and with this Kerberos ticket, I can go to all the domain resources. For example, all the shares I showed you earlier. Okay, let's unjoin this from the domains. Destroy. Remove the ticket. Now we have to unjoin from the domain. That's actually removing only one file, keytab file, which is used as communication with the client and with the domain controller. So now we are here again, standalone. And if we want to maybe take use of all of these settings we saw earlier, maybe the group policy preferences, maybe the unattended XML files, and how to automate that one. I could say run a script which I wrote and go to, now I will go to another computer account because the last computer account has now changed password. But I will go another one which has the default password. And if I run it, it will join to the domain. It will mount the sysvol directory. It will search all the XML files which are there. It will decrypt all the passwords which are there. And there you can see again. So there's the one, MCT Summit Rocks. That's the one we made up. But there are also passwords for the map, network, drive, cellular tasks, everything. And these are the passwords I just got up from the sysvol as a domain computer. So I think that's pretty bad because you can take your own box, join to the domain, get all the stuff there in 1 or 2 minutes and go away. And that's just because we use the default settings. I could have gone to the WDS server, MDT server, get the not an XML files there, gather all the admin passwords there. So it can be made that easy if you want to use it. With the Linux, it's much easier than with the Windows boxes. That's why the penetration testing is used with the Linux boxes. So now we have 0 minutes time and few lights, so let's go quick. So as I told, if we do that way, we can actually get the unnetted XML files. So the point here is to just never use the default password with the domain accounts or the computer accounts. And you can test that manually by hand. But that's one way, because some of your software may be using the default password in the computer objects. You just don't know that one. And actually, as default, normal users can join 10 computers with the default rights to the AD. So that's also. Okay, if you want to do this automated, I will show this quick because we have to get to the next session. I could make some kind of script which is running automatically, doing all of these things, which is done. Oh, what's this doing? Okay. Demo effect. Well, it's actually a good thing because we don't have time. This is, yeah, it works usually, except in the presentations. It's done that every time. Yes, it works every time you test it, not in presentation. But actually this one is, it looks like a USB key, but it's keyboard. And you can just write all the scripts here, and this will type the scripts in the computer. And it will look like a keyboard. So it's one way, easy way to go to the admin's computer, plug it in, and get all the data. Or actually go in any computer if all the default shares are there or if the sysvol is there and you can get the data. And there are many cases. There are tons of cases you can do. Reverse shell, you can get all the data. And it's everyday Joe's gimmick. I'm proud of that one because I don't have any clue what that means in English, but it's tuulipukukansan vehje in Finnish. So everyone can buy this one easily.
Good translation.
Yeah, everyone can buy this from internet. You can go to website and click the things you want it to be doing, download the bin file, put it here, and then it's working. So you don't have to know anything about how these hacks work. Just download from the net and use it. And that's the problem.
The best thing was that I downloaded a binary for that one that if you plug it in a computer, it creates a wireless ad hoc network, so you can later on get to the computer wirelessly. And it had a bug in the script, so I reported it, and the reply was, I am extremely sorry for the bug, I am only 14.
Yeah, that says a lot. So, just to recap what we learned. So, things to remember. Disable the cmd.exe from the WinPE and the install Vim when you are installing computers. So the F8 or Shift F10. Just disable that one. That's mandatory. Also secure your MDT and VDS server shares. By default, they have rights that everyone can use those shares. So secure that for some users or actually to some groups. Also, group policy preferences are readable by the users, so change the target scoping, or in the end, maybe not using the group policy preferences anytime when you're actually making user accounts there, or at least passwords. Never make computer objects with default password. You can check that manually with the run as, because some of your scripts or software might be doing that, even if you are not doing intentionally. And the USB rubber ducky, this one, that's scary because it has been several years out there, but now it looks like USB stick. What do you do when you see this? Oh, new employers of the month. Is it me? Or something like that. So if you see any USB stick which is not yours, then trash it. There's nothing interesting in there. So, thank you. No time for questions, as I told you.
Thank you.